Happy Sunday, happy Sunday, happy Sunday. It is Coach Lee, your productivity and accountability coach, here for another Sunday of, you've guessed it, Success Starter Series. Y'all know we go live each and every Sunday where we kick off the week by talking about different tips and tools that will help you to set your week up for success, because in doing the work to set your week up for success, you're doing the work to set your life up for success. And as your productivity and accountability coach, I'm all about coaching and empowering you to find that hidden time in your day. Time that you can use to pour back into yourself as you pursue your goals, your purpose, your life passions, while still maintaining your current responsibilities, but without the stress and without the overwhelm. And y'all know what happens at the top of a new month. New month, new topic, new theme. March is all about springing into structure, because as the time gets ready to change, the seasons gets ready to change, we need to make sure we're getting some structure, because January was all about laying the foundation. February, we're all about loving on ourselves. And now we need to take that foundation we were building, the love that we've been pouring into ourselves, and create some structure if you haven't already. Y'all know I talk about this all the time. But we got to make sure that we doing the actual work, that we're not just talking about it, that we're being about it. And when you look at it and you think about, like, what structure do I need? We got to talk about your schedule. We got to. Because if you free up time in your life, that involves freeing up time on your schedule. So if we can declutter your schedule and look at what is it that's stealing your time, that's going to go with the theme for this week. Because this week is all about clearing the clutter and being able to do the work to identify what's not working, so we can let go of the things that aren't working, to spend more time focusing on the things that are working, that's going to help you to make progress, move you forward, all those things to do and be the person that you want to do and become. So when we think about what is our schedule, what is it made up of, what is it comprised of, I want you to be able to understand and recognize that your time is finite. But do you know where your time is going, and how can you clear the clutter of your time if it's not going to places that are helpful? And so I want to help you set the tone, not just for this week, but for the month, because it's the first Sunday in a new month. And so with that, we want to talk about, and we're going to, y'all know how we do by now. We're going to go through the Lee method, look, examine, and execute, to hit on a couple quick points, to get in, to get out, and let you get on with your Sunday. And hopefully you're able to put these tips and tools to work as you're planning your week. Or if you catch this later in the day, later in the week, later in wherever, still putting it to work. So let's look at your time. Let's talk about a time audit. Where is, ouch, I hit my knee. Where is your time going? So you feel like you have no time. But why is that? Why do you feel like, I ain't got no time for that? It's not giving what it needs to give. It's not doing what it needs to do. It's not working. It's not helping me. Why do you feel like you have no time? So you need to look at, where's your time going? That's where the time audit comes into play. You're saying you don't have time, but where's your time going? I'll wait. Because, I got my calendar, I got my to-do list. I check in on each of them and both of them frequently throughout the day. On the weekends, I got a to-do list and a brain dump that I'm working from. So I can tell you where my time is going. Even like yesterday, I spent a lot of time doing nothing. But I can tell you where it went. I did stuff, but I didn't do stuff at the same time. I digress. I was talking about it in my stories yesterday. If you didn't catch it, you had to be there. But why do you feel, I want you to look at and answer the question of, why do you feel like you have no time? Because there's time. What are you doing with it? Are you scrolling social media? Are you taking a nap? Is you on the phone? Is you watching TV? Is you walking around in circles? Like, what you doing? Is you stuck in traffic? Because, hey, maybe you stuck in traffic. What are you doing with your time? Because if we're going to ultimately do the thing that I love to do, find that hidden time in your day, you have to look to see, where is your time going, and how can you be better using that time? And so when we look at our schedule and you look at your time and you're able to say, I'm not really sure still. I get where my time is going, but I'm not sure if I can be better utilizing it. I'm not sure if I'm wasting it. I'm not sure. Number one, that's where I come in as your productivity and accountability coach, because this is my wheelhouse. This is my gym. I can do it with my eyes closed. I can do it in my sleep. I can just do it. But let's examine your time a little bit better. So if we are looking at like, why do you feel like you have no time? And we're looking at like, okay, where are some pockets of time that I can find? Let's really examine your schedule itself. So there are three things. Really, it might be more than three. We're gonna go with three today because I'm not trying to overwhelm y'all. There are three things or three types of things that might be on your schedule that aren't serving you. We're not gonna talk about the good things on the schedule. Because today is all about decluttering your schedule and figuring out what's still in your time. So we need to look at the negatives so we can clear them and get rid of them. So when you look at your schedule or when you look at your time and you're like, where's your time going? Are you doing unnecessary things? Are you saying yes to things that drain your energy, leave you stressed out and overwhelmed? Do you just have no boundaries? And I get the one task could be a mix of all three of those things. You could have said yes to something because you have no boundaries, and when you do that task, it's not necessary for you to do it and it drains your energy. I'm not saying that one task or multiple tasks can't fit all three of those categories. But you have to be able to identify and understand those if we're going to get to the point of really clearing the clutter and putting boundaries in place and saying no without guilt and all of that. So let's look at unnecessary tasks. Let's look at and think about, like, are the things that you're so busy doing necessary? Like, do they actually need to be done? You know how sometimes you just be reorganizing the same thing just because it makes you feel like you're doing something, but it didn't really need it. It wasn't really necessary. And I get we're coming into spring, so spring cleaning might be going on. So you might be, decluttering all the things that might be necessary for that time. But how often is it? Y'all know how we talk about squirrel brain. How often is it that you're supposed to be focusing on one thing and next thing you know, you're doing this other thing and that's not necessary? Because that wasn't even on the to-do list. That wasn't even something you're supposed to be focusing on. How often is that? Was it necessary? And when we look at it, we think about unnecessary tasks like scrolling social media, TV time, naps. There are times and places for each of these things. But if we're talking about things that are junking up and cluttering up your schedule, or when you're looking at where your time is going, you're like, I spent 4 hours yesterday watching TV. I was on my phone this amount of time, but I wasn't talking to nobody. So what was I doing? Like, why? My phone was just in my hand. Like, what was I doing? So those can be unnecessary. Now let's talk energy draining commitments. And this is going to kind of pair good with the lack of boundaries. But let's just say, what things are you saying yes to that are just completely draining your energy? And it could be a physical exertion. It could be a mental exertion. It could be a financial exertion. You might be saying yes to going to people without a people, and it just, your energy just gone. Which means when you come home or you get back, you have no energy to now focus on the things that you need to do because you peopled yourself out. I try to put my people in at the end of the day or the very, it depends. I try not to people. I'm gonna be honest. I'm peopling today and every Sunday for the next 2 months. But what are you saying yes to? What are you committing to that's draining your energy? Like, are you saying yes to it out of guilt? Are you saying yes to it out of obligation? What is it about this thing that even drains your energy? Because if you know you're going to be going to do something that's going to be an energy depleter, after which you're not going to have the energy to do other things, you need to front load your day. Or front load, like, if that's a morning task, like, can I do it the day before? Or how am I going to reset myself after I get back from peopling to get myself back together? Like, what is that going to look like? How am I going to decompress and get myself to be able to show up? So are you saying yes to energy draining commitments that you don't need to, i.e. an unnecessary task? And I get it. Y'all might be like, okay, we're talking about the things that are on my schedule. We're talking about the things that are causing clutter, causing havoc, stealing my time, all of the things. But how can I really pinpoint and identify these tasks? Again, that's where I come in as your productivity and accountability coach. But if you're trying to do this yourself, ask yourself, how do you feel? Either when you say yes to the thing, right before it's time to do the thing, while doing the thing, or after doing the thing. Because here's the thing. We say yes to a lot of things. Well, y'all might. Boundaries. We're going to get to boundaries in a minute. We say yes to things. And then as soon as you say yes, you might either have that immediate regret. Like you say yes because like, oh, this sounds like a good idea at the time. I know y'all done seen the memes, the reels, all the things that are like, I said yes to this, but then when it's like an hour super form and somebody cancels, you excited about it because you didn't really want to do it. Or you said yes in this high state of self. And now that we're in the actual state of self, it's a no. So how do you feel when you say yes to it? Like, are you saying yes to the thing at the time out of obligation, out of guilt, or out of true desire? And then immediately after saying yes, like after the conversation is gone, you've walked away, do you feel immediate regret? Leading up to the event, whether it's that same day or you saying yes to something a month from now. Like my brother asked me, his fiance actually, she sent me 5K and she's like, we're signing up for this. Do you want to sign up? And like I looked at my calendar and I'm like, okay, I don't have anything on that day. Like my brother stays the opposite side from me, so he's like an hour, 2 hours from me, and I'm like, y'all know races be 7, 8 in the morning. I'm like, number one, can I crash at y'all's place? Because if I'm saying yes to this, I'm coming Friday night and I'm staying the night with y'all. Number one. And y'all, you might not know here on live, but if y'all follow me in my stories, I was talking about how I don't know if I really have a desire to run a 5K anymore. Even though that's one of my goals that I set for the year, like run 2 5Ks a month. Not ones that I sign up for and pay for. This one will be signing up and pay for, but I'll be doing it with them, and I think the proceeds like support a job or something like that. But when we're talking about like leading up to it, so for example, I was using that to say that that's an event that's the end of April, I think it is. So in thinking about it and deciding if I'm going to say yes, how am I feeling leading up to it? So if you have days to lead up to it, hours, weeks, or months, how do you feel leading up to the event? Are you starting to dread it, regret it, any of that? What are we getting? What does it feel like? What does it look like? What does it sound like? How do you feel leading up to the event? At the time it's time to do the event, how are you feeling? Because sometimes we say yes to things because we truly want to do it, and then life gets to lifing, especially if it's something that has a delayed time between the commitment and the execution. That like, things get added to the calendar that didn't how you get everywhere, which is where boundaries come into play. We're going to get to that in a little bit. But like, how does it feel leading up to it? And then once you're doing the event, like there have been times that I've said yes to stuff, and then as I'm doing it or as I'm there, I'm like thinking about all the things that I could be doing with this time. And then immediately after, how do you feel? Like, are you excited that you did it? Are you proud that you did it? Are you regretting that you did it? Are you thinking about how much time that you wasted? So that's how you can start looking at things when you're looking at your schedule. And I get that this doesn't really help you if you've already committed to the thing. Unless it's something that you can get out of, and then you can use this to try to figure out how you're going to get out of it. I'm not telling you to be flaky and unavailable, but if you see, like, if going through this process, you have something to schedule and you like, no, this is unnecessary, it's energy draining, I need to say no to this, do it sooner rather than later. Don't be waiting until 5 minutes before the event, the day before, the day of, especially if you play a part in it, to back out. Don't do that. I need y'all to honor y'all commitments, but this is where we need to work on the commitments that we're committing to so that we don't and aren't in this position. But I digress. So how does it feel in each of these processes and in each part of this? Excuse me. I'm going to get my words out. And so you can utilize this framework for things that you're about to commit to. So like, for example, I'm going to use the 5K example. I'm not saying I'm regretting it. I hadn't even paid to sign up for it yet, so I'm still meditating and thinking about it and praying on it. I re-downloaded Couch to 5K because I'm like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to train for it. Like, I can run a 5K, but I don't like my pace right now. When I do a free run that's a 5K, I need to be quicker. And I know that's just me just running. So I need to do the Couch to 5K app or something to get my pace and get my speed back up. Because when I'm running, we're not talking about running, but we're going to talk about running. Because when I'm running, like, intervals and stuff, like, I'm good. But if I'm just like, I got to get the 3.1 miles and I'm just running, I don't push myself as much. I got to get my pacing back down for a true 5K versus, I have to sprint for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, etc. Anywho, I digress again. So when we're talking about and thinking about like your schedule, like you can utilize these feelings, these thoughts for things that you've committed to in the past. So the last time I ran a 5K, the only other time that I've ran a 5K that I paid for, it was with my job. And I had trained for it coming up to it, so I was kind of excited. And then during it, I felt good. My pace was good. And then at the end of it, I won first or second place in my age group. Actually, I said I trained for it. I lied. I hadn't officially trained for it. I had been running, but I hadn't like truly trained for the 5K. I felt good after that. I'm like, oh, I didn't fully even train for this and I got second in my age group? Okay. So like I felt excited about that. So honestly, the thought of doing this 5K is quasi exciting because I thrive on challenges and I thrive on competition. So the reason that I haven't really been feeling my 5K like the goal of run 2 5Ks a month is because it wasn't like, it's just to check off the goal. It's just check off the miles, not really for, I don't even want to say a vanity. It's nothing really attached to it. Like me setting a monthly mileage goal is to get the mileage goal, to get the goal for the year. And so that's to make sure that I'm on track. But me just saying I want to run 2 5Ks in the month, it's not really tied to anything. Now, if I decided that I want to do it at this pace or this speed or something like that, and maybe I'll pivot after this race and training for it to do something like that. But you have to figure out like what metric is kind of attached to it. And so the third thing that I wanted to talk about in terms of the schedule clutter is that lack of boundaries. So how I was kind of talking about like the energy draining commitments and how the unnecessary tasks, or even you saying yes to something at a time that felt good, but then as it comes closer to the actual time to complete it, you realize that you didn't put a whole bunch of extra things on your schedule, and now it's giving no. What does that look like for you? And that's what I mean by lack of boundaries. So sticking with this 5K example, if I'm committing to this 5K and I'm putting it on my calendar, number one, it's on a Saturday, so I know that means Friday. Like I said, I'm planning on staying over there. So I had decided that's going to mean working from home and like going there Thursday evening, or like, you know, driving over during lunchtime on Friday, because who trying to drive over there at 5 o'clock traffic? Not I. Anywho, I digress. But that goes to the reverse engineering aspect, which is what lack of boundaries often comes into play with. You're saying yes because you're not thinking of the end result. You're not reverse engineering. And so your lack of boundaries can often lead you to say yes to any and everything, even when you know in the back of your mind or even in the front of your mind that I shouldn't say yes to this, but I'm a people pleaser. I'm a this, I'm a that, and I don't want to leave them in a bind. You're going to leave yourself in a bind. You will. And lack of boundaries leads to that execution phase, because we looked at your schedule. We examined to figure out what's on your schedule that's stealing your time. Is it unnecessary tasks? Is it energy draining commitments? Is it your lack of boundaries? So if we're going to execute, i.e. do the work to declutter your schedule and do the work to stop letting things steal your time, you got to learn how to say no without the guilt. I guess we could just, we can focus on just saying no first. And then if you want to worry about doing it guilt-free later, we can get there. But they should go together, because no is a complete sentence and you're entitled to say no. Like if someone's asking you to do something, that means no is an option. If they're telling you to do something, honestly, no is still an option, because how are you going to dictate to me what I do in my time, my schedule, my energy, my finances, my resources? Oh, okay, that's what I thought. But anywho, clearly I have no issues with saying that without guilt. So what boundaries can you set around protecting your time? And I get this whole live is about protecting your time and decluttering your schedule. So how am I going to execute by setting boundaries to protect my time if I'm here because I'm trying to figure out how to protect my time? Because it's full circle. Because it all goes together. So in order to declutter your schedule, i.e. execute on this phase, you have to set boundaries and you have to protect your time. It's not an or. You can't set boundaries or protect your time. They go together real bad. In setting boundaries, you are protecting your time. In protecting your time, you are setting boundaries. They go together real bad. So what does that look like and how can you do that? If you need help and support, like I said, this is what I do as your productivity and accountability coach. You can comment the word clarity and we can get on a call, do a free a free 20-minute personalized productivity audit where we can like run through this really quickly to figure out where your biggest time suck is, where your biggest time waster is, and what you really want to do in terms of clearing your time and fixing your time. But you have to understand and you have to recognize where is your time going. And then in understanding and recognizing that, you can then understand and recognize you need to do some work to clear this clutter. And what is that work going to look like? And so saying no is a complete sentence, like no, period. We've talked about how you can say no. We've talked about, you can give them a qualifier if you want. But ultimately, you have to learn to say no without the guilt, because the guilt that you feel in saying no turns up and being guilt for you when you're looking at your schedule and you're stressed out, you're overwhelmed, you're regretting saying yes to these things. You're not really there. You're physically there, but you're not mentally or emotionally there. Or you're looking at your bank account and you're not financially there because you're not committed to all these other things. What does that look like for you, and what does that mean for you? It's time for you to let go, free up, and declutter your schedule. I'm going to be doing, if you signed up for it, at the end of this month, a masterclass on mastering your mornings. Because in learning how to master your mornings, some of this is going to come into play, but we're going to be diving into like how to set your day up. And if you use the same framework to set your day up, you can use that to kind of guide you through the day. But ultimately, if you're looking to build, create, and have a system, a schedule, and a routine that works for you, that's where commenting the word clarity comes into play, because we can get on and talk about it. Because in a productivity strategy session, it's a single session. You don't even have to commit to 6 weeks of one-on-one coaching. If you commit to 6 weeks of one-on-one coaching, you still get that schedule in addition to the added support for the next 5 to 6 weeks of walking you through this process to help you to stay accountable so that you can identify your unnecessary tasks week by week, so that you can let go and identify the things that are draining your energy, and so that you can learn how to set boundaries with the support, with the accountability as you walk through it. But if we just want to talk about decluttering your schedule without that added layer of accountability, with a productivity strategy session, this single session, in an hour to an hour and a half, we can map out and get to and understand what it is you want your day-to-day to look like, what it is you want your week to look like, and ultimately your life. And then I'll do the work to create the schedule based on the things that we talked about, and I'll send it to you, and you'll have access to me to make any tweaks or adjustments in case I misunderstood or misheard or whatever, that for 7 days, not indefinitely, unless you're on one-on-one coaching, then that's a different story. But comment clarity if you want to book a call. Like the personalized productivity audit is free to talk about the productivity strategy session, or to figure out if one-on-one coaching is the better fit for you, depending on what your ultimate goal or your outcome is that you're seeking. But we're in the month of spring. We're in the month of March. It's time for you to get the structure that you really need, because Q1 has been about creating that foundation, building a solid block, because as we continue to journey through this year, if you don't have that solid foundation of your schedule, of a morning routine, of all these things, you're going to continually keep referring back and jumping back, and you're not going to be able to make that progress. It's time for you to declutter your schedule. And the only way you're going to do that is to be able to understand and identify where your time is going. You need to look at your time and look to understand, where's my time going? Is it being served in the best ways? You need to examine what it is that is actually on your schedule. What are the schedule? What parts of your schedule are cluttered? Is it unnecessary tasks? Is it energy draining commitments? Is it the lack of boundaries? And in understanding each of those things, you'll then be able to create a game plan to execute, to say no, to let go and declutter your schedule and get off those things that are stealing your time. It's time to clear the clutter. It's time to identify what it is that's not working, so that you can declutter your schedule and you'll understand and can identify what's stealing your time, so you can let go of those things to put yourself in that position to win going forward. So if you're looking for support, for accountability, for help, for resources, for the creation of that schedule, again, comment the word clarity below. We can have a free 20-minute call, figure it out, work it out, talk it out, get together. Whether you decide to work with me or not, you'll walk away with a call with something actionable that you can take action on. What you decide to do with that information is ultimately up to you. But as your productivity and accountability coach, I'm all about empowering you to not only find that hidden time in your day, but to help you to let go of the time wasters, to clear the clutter, to figure out what's working, what's not working, and do more of what's working, so you can stop doing more of and phase out those things that aren't working. So if you're looking for support, for help with that, comment the word clarity. Let's have a conversation. But take action. Take this information. Put it to work. As you're doing your brain dump, making your to-do list and creating your schedule for the week, go ahead and start decluttering it now. Get those unnecessary commitments off. Get those energy draining commitments off. Say no. Put some boundaries in place. If you need to start, canceling some appointments or whatever, reach out sooner rather than later to start telling them, I can't do it, I can't make it, this not in alignment. Do what it is you got to do. But either way, and until next time, it has been Coach Lee, your productivity and accountability coach, here for another Sunday of Youth Guested Success Starter Series. We'll be back next week, same time, same place, to continue to work on helping you to create that structure and springing into structure all throughout the month of March. And it's also International Women's Month, so women, y'all know I'm here for y'all. Men can benefit too, but y'all know I'm really here for y'all, because as women, we play so many roles in life that we often neglect ourselves at the expense of all the other things that we do and we have to do, and we're not doing that, okay? So until next time, guys, Coach Lee is